The battle over abortion in the United States is back on the front burner, and it's starting to get personal. Shortly after being profiled in Newsweek for leading the personhood movement, which seeks to ban abortion by defining human embryos as full-fledged people with legal rights, a Colorado man had his family home attacked with a rock and graffiti. Now reports of that attack have surfaced in the same day that the personhood movement in Ohio admitted it would not be able to gather enough signatures to generate a November referendum on that state's abortion laws and that state's constitution. The personhood amendment has already been voted down, even in conservative Mississippi. So for more on what to make of all of this, we're pleased to be joined by Stephanie Gray of the Canadian Centre for Bioethical Reform. We've reached her via Skype in Chilliwack, BC. Thank you so much for joining us on Daily Brief.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Are you surprised when you hear about violence against pro-lifers like what happened in Colorado?
You know, I'm not. I'm disappointed and saddened, but not surprised. I mean, the worldview of abortion advocates is to resort to violence when you're unhappy with things. So if they're going to be violent towards preborn children, why should we be surprised when they're violent towards born people?
And this kind of violence, I mean, there has been an increase in violence against the pro-life movement since, well, in recent years. I mean, even in 2009 in Michigan, there was a pro-life protester who was shot dead at a protest.
That's right, James Poulin, and he was actually a man who had volunteered with the American office of our organization. So yes, we have seen great incidents of violence, and even here in Canada, while we haven't seen to that extent violence directed towards pro-lifers within our organization, we've nonetheless in recent years experienced aggression, verbal attack, physical attack on our signage and property.
Tell me about the kind of violence that you have faced in Canada, or the kind of opposition that you've faced in Canada. Has it become personal? Has it become physically dangerous?
It certainly has, and I'm concerned it could be getting more that way. When I first started my activism at university, 3 student leaders from my campus's student union attacked violently our campus pro-life display, ripping up our signs, turning over tables. Then just on the tour, my team and I were just on the new abortion caravan. A man assaulted 3 of our female staff by dumping chocolate milk over them as they were peacefully standing on a street corner. Then a woman came and vandalized the signs on our truck when we were in London, Ontario, someone from Occupy London. And then when one of my colleagues was trying to take a photo of her in the, committing the act that she was committing, she then assaulted him by slapping down his arm.
Now, I want to, so there has been this kind of thing happening in Canada. It has been considerably more shocking in the United States and perhaps more violent in the United States. The most recent violence comes in reaction to the personhood movement, which is basically trying to get a constitutional amendment or a referendum on constitutional amendments that would define the unborn as a person. That movement hasn't seen much success. Why do you think that is?
I think there's still a lot of education that needs to be done to convince the average American or the average Canadian that we actually are dealing with human beings, with persons when it comes to the preborn. So we still have much to do by way of that, by communicating the scientific facts that at fertilization you have a human being because you have human parents, because the preborn child at fertilization is growing, they must be alive, that kind of thing. By visually educating people about how abortion is an act of violence that kills these individuals, that's also important in order to establish a foundation whereby more people are convinced the preborn are human, abortion kills them, then they will want, personhood protections when they have more education.
Now, in the fall, MPs in Canada will likely vote on an MP's motion to have a special study of just when human life does begin. Do you think that's helpful to this kind of debate?
It's absolutely helpful, and I think, people need to be aware that in our criminal code right now, you're not considered a human being under the law until you're out of your mother's body, which is appalling to think that our Canadian society is determining what something is by where it is instead of determining what something is by what its parents are. And as long as we're not going to reopen the debate about the personhood of women or open a debate about the personhood of men, we shouldn't be having a debate about the personhood of their offspring. It should be obvious that they're human. So this motion 312 in the fall is very important.
All right, Stephanie Gray in Chilliwack, BC, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.